Member of Parliament for NA says now is the time to take a closer look at government-owned companies. Postal Services St. Martin informs of its first COVID-19 positive employee, and the Permanent Committee of Kingdom Affairs and Interparliamentary Relations met today, Tuesday. Those are the headlines for today, Tuesday, August the 25th, 2020. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. Thanking you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, the Permanent Committee of Kingdom Affairs and Interparliamentary Relations met today, Tuesday, August the 25th, 2020, and was held in a virtual setting. The agenda point that was discussed was the draft Consensus Kingdom Law Caribbean Reform Entity as presented by the Dutch government and possible steps by Parliament to present a position to the other countries in the Kingdom. The meeting was requested by MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. Due to measures taken to mitigate the coronavirus COVID-19, the House of Parliament only allowed persons with an appointment to enter the Parliament building. In his opening remarks, the chairman of the meeting, the Honorable William Marlin, said that we need to put things in proper perspective. The Member of Parliament says that this draft Consensus Kingdom Law establishes and brings to life a Caribbean reform entity which, according to the explanatory memorandum of the law, intends to, for the benefit of the people of the country, promote and implement reforms of an administration nature. He expounds further.
Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin are being requested on the basis of Article 38, Paragraph 2 of the Charter of the Kingdom to agree with the content of the Rijkswet Caribische Hervormingsentiteit Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin, the Kingdom Law Caribbean Reform Entity, Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin, in order to continue qualifying for liquidity support. So if you want liquidity support, this is what you got to agree to. Article 38, paragraphs 1 and 2 of the Charter stipulate that the Netherlands, Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin can reach to mutual agreements with each other and that they may be established by a kingdom law once determined in mutual discussions with the necessary partners. This is important for not only members of Parliament who should know this and notice, but also for the public that is following and for people who are making their comments, for us to put things into proper perspectives. Yes, we can have these kingdom laws, but they have to be arrived at after discussions and mutual agreement. You can have no discussion, but you have to agree. It is not something that one can impose on the other. This draft Consensus Kingdom Law firstly establishes and brings to life a Caribbean reform entity, which according to the explanatory memorandum of the law, intends to, for the benefit of the people of the country, promote and implement reforms of an administrative nature, ensure that sustainable public finances are realized, and that the resilience of the economy is strengthened, including the constitutional embedding that is necessary for this. According to the State Secretary Knops, an important task of the Caribbean Reform Entity is to provide support of and to monitor the development and implementation of projects and measures by government institutions and government-owned companies. These projects and measures are outlined in the country packages, which are coherent packages in which per country concrete measures for the short-term and longer-term structural reforms that are necessary to make the countries more resilient are stipulated. The Kingdom Law also amend the Rijkswet Financieel Toezicht Curaçao and St. Martin, which is the Kingdom Law Financial Supervision Curaçao and St. Martin, and adds Aruba to this kingdom law. The following, which is derived from the draft consensus kingdom law, is important to note. In Chapter 2 of this kingdom law, it is established the Caribbean Reform Entity as an independent administrative body, that it will be based in The Hague. So you have a Caribbean Reform Entity, but is established and based in The Hague. The chapter also stipulates the task of the entity, such as supporting and supervision of the development and execution of projects and measures, initiating of projects, providing subsidies to citizens and private entities, including government-owned companies, and taking part in the share capital of private entities, including government-owned companies, which regards the government, finances, economic reform, healthcare, education, the strengthening of the democratic rule of law, and the infrastructure. The entity can cooperate on the basis of its tasks, can cooperate with institutions with development, financing, supervisory, or general administrative tasks, and it will consist of 3 members that are appointed by the Minister of Interior Affairs and Kingdom Relations and supported by a group of civil servants. Lastly, this chapter stipulates that the members of the entity and the civil service and certain of their family members will be directly and legally admitted to the countries.
And we will have more of that meeting of Parliament in tomorrow's edition of SXM Daily News. And as of August the 24th, St. Martin has confirmed 12 new cases of persons who have tested positive for the coronavirus COVID-19. The new total of positive cases now stands at 408. Of the active cases, the Collective Prevention Services, CPS, are monitoring 234 people in home isolation. The Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, VSA, the Honorable Richard Panaflex, stated that we now have 244 active cases of persons who have contracted COVID-19. 8 patients are currently hospitalized and 2 patients are isolated and being monitored. The total number of deaths due to COVID-19 remains at 17. The number of people recovered since the first case surfaced on St. Martin remains at 147. 470 people are now in quarantine based on contact tracing investigations carried out by CPS of persons who may have been in contact with any of the active cases. In a continued effort to control the spread of the virus, CPS has tested 699 travelers arriving at the Princess Juliana International Airport and 1,485 people throughout the community. As the number of positive cases continue to increase, CPS will continue to actively execute its contact tracing measures. And still to come, Minister of Education responds to questions about the reopening of schools and online learning. I'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News for Tuesday, August the 25th, 2020. And in more news, the management of the Postal Services St. Martin was informed earlier this morning, Tuesday, August the 25th, 2020, that one employee has been tested positive for COVID-19. The employee, who is currently abroad and obtaining the necessary medical attention, was last present at the workplace on Wednesday, August the 19th, 2020, and was not showing any symptoms at that time. Considering the remote working conditions of the PSS offices and the health and safety of the employees being a top priority, management has decided to close its operations effective today, Tuesday, August the 25th, 2020, for 2 weeks to take prompt measures, including fumigation and deep cleaning of all of its offices. To mitigate the spread of the virus, and the public will be updated in a subsequent press release about resumption of services and related developments. For urgent matters, please send an email to info@pssnv.sx. The release reads in part, "Our best wishes go out to the employee for a full recovery." And as we continue now with more news, at the follow-up parliamentary meeting on education and the state of education with the reopening of schools was held on Monday afternoon, August the 24th, 2020, to discuss the decisions regarding the opening of the school year 2020-2021 on August the 10th, 2020, and the preparedness of schools to start the school year. The Minister of Education, the Honorable Rodolphe Samuel, responded to a number of questions that was posed to him.
How will the students who don't have access to internet be provided with access? What is the plan and what is the cost to the parents? The answer, subsidized school boards and the Division of Public Education are in the process of finalizing assessments regarding students who are currently not being reached. With this information, school boards have advised to use alternatives to reach these students, including creating learning packages and ensuring follow-up via telephone or other means. Many schools have already begun to process the distribution of these packages. The data regarding students without access will be obtained by the ministry at the end of the week. Once we have this information, we will continue working to assist those who need devices. Second question. Before I was sworn into Parliament, I know that there were discussions by the ISTEP team on a proposed way forward as it relates to connectivity and access to internet for students without. How far is the ministry on this? Indeed, you are correct, MP, Member of Parliament. There was an initial meeting held between representatives of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports and Bureau of Telecommunication before the lockdown earlier this year. During the meeting, it was proposed and agreed that the ISTEP team would conduct a survey to gather data on students' accessibility to the internet and IT devices. The survey was conducted and data was collected and shared within the ministry. Several means of providing connectivity are currently being explored. These include collaboration with internet service providers, as well as increased provision for resources that may be necessary to support access to the school and remotely. Following question. One of the bottlenecks experienced with distance learning and e-learning in general has been the instability of internet connection and the bandwidth needed to effectively facilitate e-learning. What discussions have been had with the local telecommunication providers on this matter? There have been several discussions with local telecommunication providers. These included an initial meeting with BTP and discussions with Telem related to the enhancement of bandwidth and the connectivity at schools to facilitate distance learning. These discussions will continue in an effort to address these issues.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for the National Alliance, the Honorable Solange Ludmilla Duncan, posed questions to the minister as well regarding online learning. The Member of Parliament said that as a Member of Parliament, the idea is to close the digital divide, but also to reduce inequity, and that is our problem.
I would like to start off by thanking all of those teachers and school staff members who have worked diligently over the last few weeks to provide an enthusiastic atmosphere for our students. You know, Mr. Chairman, it hasn't been easy. As a parent, I must say that every day comes with a little bit of challenge, but I want to commend people or teachers like my daughter's second grade teacher, my neighbors who are teachers. I want to commend them for doing a wonderful job despite all of the challenges that we are currently facing. Every week it gets better, but it has not been easy. But as a government, as a parliament, the idea is to close the digital divide, but also to reduce inequity, because that is our problem. We know that there are so many students in this country that right now do not have internet access, and that is what they need. So for me, Mr. Chairman, I would also like to echo some of the questions of my colleagues, but the minister has said that there are assessments being done right now. And so it is important that the reports are shared, but not only with Parliament, but with the public as well, because transparency is key. These are how better decisions will be made from the ministry and from outside of the ministry. So as soon as these assessments are completed, or as they become completed, I would hope that the minister would share them publicly. The minister has said that there are discussions ongoing with internet providers, but these discussions have been ongoing for quite some time. There should at least be a soft proposal. So through you, Mr. Chairman, to the minister, I would like to ask if there is any way that we can get an indication or a direction in which these discussions are going with our internet providers. Right now, there is no provider with a setup fee lower than $350. I don't know which family could afford that right now. And so it's very important that our children get access, and the ministry has an obligation to ensure that something is being done in that regard. You know, Mr. Chairman, there was mention of the daycare centers during the LU saga, so to speak. Our daycare centers and preschools have been working extremely hard, not only to take in those children and students who need it, right? Because their parents are at work, but they are actually providing an extra service during this time. They're assisting students with their online classes, yet receiving less funding or income because they have less students in class. So this is how difficult it is for our daycare centers right now.
And in more COVID-related news, the Management of Social and Health Insurances, SZV, was notified on Sunday, August the 23rd, of one employee that has tested positive for COVID-19. The employee was last at the SZV office on August the 13th, 2020, and is stationed in an office level that is not a client service area. As a precautionary measure, additional sanitation took place at the SZV office building on Monday, August the 24th, 2020. All employees working in this office level will be home until further notice. At this time, no other employees have reported symptoms, and SZV will independently provide testing for all employees who have been in direct contact with the diagnosed staff member. Management of SZV is in contact with CPS to implement any additional protocols necessary to strengthen its internal COVID-19 prevention guidelines. SZV service to clients will continue uninterrupted, as this is now provided primarily online, by phone, or by appointment. Since June the 1st, SZV discontinued walk-in client services. SZV takes this opportunity to remind the community of the importance of adhering to the COVID-19 prevention guidelines at home, in public areas, and at your workplace. Contact CPS via phone number 914 if you're experiencing COVID-19 symptoms or if you have been in contact with someone who has tested positive for the virus. By preventative action, we can combat COVID-19. Now, turning to our weather forecast for August the 25th, 2020. Lingering moisture associated with a low-level trough will account for a few passing showers across the local area. Meanwhile, slight to moderate marine conditions are expected throughout the next few days. So the outlook through Thursday midday, partly cloudy to cloudy with isolated showers. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Member of Parliament for the NA says now is the time to take a closer look at government-owned companies. And we'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
Welcome back, viewers. This is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. In an ongoing investigation into drug smuggling via the Princess Juliana International Airport and the harbor, the Alpha team arrested a man with the initials GD on Monday, August 17, 2020. The suspect is accused of being part of a group who smuggled an amount of narcotics through the Princess Juliana International Airport in the second week of August 2020. GD is being held at the police station pending further investigation. The Alpha team is a jointly multidisciplinary team that is comprised of the Police Department, KPSM, the Customs Department, the Immigration Department, and the Maréchaussées and the Coast Guard. And Member of Parliament, the Honourable Solange Ludmila Duncan, in discussions about the government-owned companies and the financing of these companies, is of the opinion that now is the time to take a closer look at these companies and see what changes can be made. The Member of Parliament was speaking in the Breakfast Lounge with Lady Grace on PJD3 Radio on Tuesday morning.
I always say that 2020 is the perfect year for disruption, both positive and negative. So it's time now to really take a microscope and look at all of the companies. So we look at government and what needs to improve there and reform in government, but we also have to look at our government-owned companies, definitely, and see what changes can be made. Now is the time.
Right. Do you think, though, that the request, you're also requesting the supervisory boards and managements to be present at these meetings. The nominations of supervisory boards and managements on these different boards, you think that's been done in on a political level or more on a friend level when it comes to appointing members of the supervisory board? Anyone? Who goes first here?
I think you should take that one.
Traditionally, if we have to be honest, you see both. You see that they're political appointments, and sometimes those appointments can be questioned, right? Are these persons competent and knowledgeable?
Right.
So again, is this the year now for change and to sort of shift the direction in which we're going? I believe so.
So how do you do that then if you were talking about changing that system?
Well, I think Parliament has already shown us, or shown the country, that we're seeing a little bit of a shift, right? We see opposition members voting with the coalition, that if we believe something is right and for the best of St. Martin, we're going to go along with it and we're going to support it. So I think now we have to see that across the board. Is it right? Is this person the best person for the job, no matter the political color that they might wear? Now is the time to make those sorts of changes. So I think a shift is happening if we really look at least what's been happening in Parliament.
And in this reminder from NVGEBE, they are informing the public that disconnections will resume during the week of September the 1st to the 5th, 2020 for installments that are overdue. Please take note of the following and make every effort to have your installments and bills paid and settled on time to avoid disconnection. Their office hours are Monday to Friday, 7:45 a.m. to 3 p.m. They may be reached on the following numbers: 546-1100, 546-1160, or 546-1112. They can also be reached at 546-1113 or via their email address, customercare@nvgebe.com. Please feel free to contact them via their live chat at www.nvgebe.com. And still to come, 4C Foundation supports DigiKids SDA School with 150 iPads. And I'll have the details to that story when SXM Daily News returns. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for you this evening, viewers, recently the St. Martin's Seventh-day Adventist School became the proud recipients of 50 brand new iPads to support the students and staff with online and blended learning. In 2015, as a result of the initiative of the 4C Foundation, who developed a comprehensive educational technology project through funding from Windsong International Foundation, the St. Martin's Seventh-day Adventist School, along with other schools across the island, became a DigiKids school. To further enhance the initiative, a cabled network infrastructure, including server, digital boards, and children's laptops, were purchased for each classroom, and a Digitech team was formed among staff who spearheaded training and staff development programs to ensure the competence of staff in effectively utilizing hardware and software for teaching learning. The school's manager, Ms. George Desire, led to the second phase of the initiative, which commenced in 2019. This, of course, was outside of a knowledge or view that a pandemic, COVID-19, would force schools globally to switch to online and blended learning. For the Seventh-day Adventist School, the availability of iPads ensures that 50 students will benefit from this DigiKids project, as well as devices which will be used for virtual classes. And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you for joining me once again. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.